Hello and welcome. The goal of this podcast is to get listeners connected with others in the sports industry because they say it's all about who you know, and now you know us. Hey, everybody, this is your host, Connor Shank, and today you're listening to the Constant Sports Podcast, the podcast that is committed to connecting you to other sports professionals because they say it's all about who you know, and now you know Bryson. Thanks for joining us today, Bryson.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Connor.
Yeah, anytime. So if you're on LinkedIn and you're in the sports industry, I'm sure you've come across Bryson's profile. He's got a pretty big LinkedIn audience following on there with over 6,500 followers. Posts a lot about, how to get jobs in sports, why the sports industry, interview, application tips and tricks. And also Bryson, of course, has a plethora of sports industry experience in soccer, college football, teamwork online, things of that nature. So we're just gonna crush the sports industry today, and help others get connected, and maybe land a few jobs in sports. So we're just kind of dive in here, Bryson. Can you give the listeners and viewers kind of a quick recap of how you got to where you're at today, essentially?
Absolutely. And appreciate your breakdown. So growing up, the dream, right, was to play sports. I feel like everyone that works in sports, that's their dream. And
Yep.
then realizing that's not reality for me, then it was like, okay, well, now I want to coach. I wanted to coach football. And then was lucky enough to have a connection that helped me get a job at BYU Athletics. So did equipment there for 3 years. My title was player experience manager. So we tried to take equipment a step further
Mm.
and present like these apparel and equipment driven experiences for the players who would get these fancy boxes and
Oh yeah.
trying to come up with new helmets and things like that. Um, but yeah, from there had a good experience at BYU Athletics. Realized, hey, I don't want to be a coach because I don't want to be in at 6 a.m. and leave at 10 p.m. I want a family at some point. And then I actually met my wife at BYU, and she graduated and got a job offer out in North Carolina. So we actually moved out there, and I transferred schools to NC State.
Mm.
Used Teamwork Online to get a job with NCFC, North Carolina Football Club, and
Mhm.
NC Courage. Game day operations there, help set up and take down the field, the stadium before and after the game. And then actually, I started making content, as you mentioned, on LinkedIn around that same time, and had no idea what I was doing when I started. But I made a post about Teamwork Online and was like, hey, if you want to work in sports, this is the place to be. We have
Yep.
almost 6,000 jobs open on the site in sports and live events. It wasn't working at Teamwork Online at the time, right?
Yep.
Tagged them in the post, and then our president, Davis Phil, saw the post and messaged me, just said thanks for the post, basically. And we chatted a little bit back and forth online. Try and make a long story short here, but a few months later, he ended up being in Charlotte, North Carolina for an event. And if you know the geography of North Carolina, there's Raleigh, which is on the east side of the state, and then Charlotte's about a three hour drive on the west side of the state.
Gotcha.
And so Davis invited me to meet him for breakfast, meet him for coffee on I think it was like a Thursday morning. And so I had class that day, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna skip class.
Gotta
I'm gonna
make
wake
it.
up at 5 a.m. I'm gonna go drive and meet this guy. We'll see what happens. And had a great conversation. Davis is a great person, and he ended up offering me a job at the end of our conversation. And so I've been working with Teamwork Online since then.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we'll dive into the job search and whatnot in a little bit, but it's love the story there, and I think it's kind of encapsulates the sports industry. It's kind of, you got to go and kind of get it yourself, right? You got to do the work. You got to put the work in. It's not just like a raise your hand type of deal, and bang, there's a job. A lot of, like I said, a lot of, I guess, early mornings, commitments and things like that. So that's something we'll touch in a little bit later. But so regarding for the viewers listening. A lot of them are in kind of a sports management degree, master's degree, whatnot. So tell us a little bit about your time at NC State. You're in the sports management program. So maybe some classes, some of your favorite classes, things of that nature.
Yeah, really enjoying my classes. One I enjoyed a lot, my first semester at NC State, was diversity, equity, and inclusion
Mhm.
in sports and parks and recreation and that kind of thing.
Right.
Just because, we all have bias, whether we acknowledge it or not. And it
Mhm.
really helped me just become more self-aware than I was before that. And thinking about, people with disabilities and their accessibility at games, are they able to have a seat where they can actually see the game? Um, or whether it's marginalized groups of people and different people from different backgrounds. And then also just acknowledging diversity of thought, which is really what it comes down to. Um, and so that was a cool one just to see, hey, there's so many different opinions, and I need to be more self-aware in my biases. And so not necessarily something that I'm going into. There are jobs in that where, you
Mhm.
know, you can make a stadium more accessible. Um, but just help me become more self-aware in my biases, really.
Yep. No, yeah, 100% agree. And there's, especially the program I went to, there was a bunch of classes revolving around that and whatnot. So, kind of a hot topic in the industry. A lot of jobs opening up for those interested in the space. And then you graduate in this year, right? For December, with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
sports
graduate in
management degree.
December. Yep.
So is that a 2-year program, 1-year track? How does it work for those that might be interested in going to that program?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually I'm finishing up my undergrad, and so uh, I think you could really wrap up classes in like 2 years. I'm doing it in three
Mhm.
semesters because I
Okay.
came from BYU. Um, so and then they have some master's programs. It's more in
Hmm.
like the Parks and Recreation field at
I know.
NC State. So if you're looking for more of the sports business side, recommend some of the other programs like
Hmm.
uh, there's a great one at University of San Francisco,
Yep.
some other schools like that.
On your LinkedIn, we'll kind of cross into that sector now. So you've got kind of you're saying there, I help others break into the sports industry. So you talked a little bit about your story, just posting about teamwork online, and that led to a job. But what was it about LinkedIn specifically, rather than maybe like an Instagram or Twitter or another platform, right? That you said, okay, like I'm gonna go all in on LinkedIn specifically.
Yeah, LinkedIn is great because for me, I think it started out as this is going to help me keep track of all the people I meet,
Mhm.
right? Because it, the sports industry, it's a small world.
Yep.
Like your podcast saying, like it's all
Hmm.
about who you know.
Right.
Um, and now you know me. Connect with me on LinkedIn, right?
There it
Like
is.
there it is. It's as simple as that. That's why I started. And then just seeing that, okay, this is a big opportunity to be seen even more. If I post content on LinkedIn, I aim for, every weekday.
Hmm.
And that makes my name and my face keep popping up, right? That's how we met,
Right. Yep.
we
Yep.
we saw each other's faces on LinkedIn. So just becoming even more visible, and you don't have to post every day, every weekday. Find what works for you. Post once a month.
Hmm.
The more you get your name and your face out there, the more likely that opportunities will come to you, and you'll be creating opportunities for yourself.
Right. And I think it's more kind of like it's almost like branding, but more creating opportunities. Kind of getting your safe self out there. Whether that's in really any industry, but in the sports industry, if I was on a Zoom, kind of like a Dan Lust. I'm not sure if you familiar with him. So he did like a
Yeah.
Zoom, right? And he was basically just saying like a bunch of the people he's hired, essentially, they've just been like posting articles on LinkedIn or like they made their own blog, and then in the interview process, they're like, oh hey, like by the way, I have these articles or these newsletters or these posts, and it's really just shows that you're interested, but also like I'm actually putting things in to the universe of sports, right? So it almost I might be biased here, but I think it kind of puts you ahead possibly over other candidates that are just kind of sending in their resumes. So I think that's something to add.
Yeah, I completely agree. The sports business world is risk averse,
Mhm.
right? That people don't want to take risks. And so if they've seen a body of work that you've done, right? If they see, oh man, this guy's got experience doing event operations, he's worked for this team and that team, and he interned here,
Yep.
and they see that, right? You're not just on a piece of paper, but they're seeing the photos and they're seeing your name. That's going to just increase your chances that much more.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100% agree. And then I guess now that we have inside track on Teamwork Online here, can you give the listeners and viewers, or start with maybe applications? So what are some things that people should keep on their applications, keep off? Maybe just a few tips and tricks for applications, job inquiries, and whatnot.
Yeah, I guess I'll start with resume, and that is to include data and things like that, numbers
Mhm.
as much
Yep.
as you can, whether it's the number of people you've worked with or trained, or if you can put numbers to revenue generation, right?
Hmm.
Sports is a business. They're trying to make money.
Yeah.
So if you can show how you've made money, whether you've generated it or you've cut costs or saved time, if you can quantify that, that's going to make your resume stand out that much more. I think I have a number in 98% of my bullet
Oh,
points on
yep.
my
Yep.
resume. Like you have to do that. And then cover letter too, that's a must in the sports industry. Whether you like it or not, like it's your opportunity to stand out,
Totally.
So I make a template is what I usually do. And then I'm happy to share that. Maybe I'll share this on LinkedIn. People can see it there. But basically, again, highlight a couple skills that are mentioned in the job description. And if you're trying to pivot into the industry, it becomes that much more important, right?
Oh
If
yeah.
you're applying to a sales job, you need to be talking about sales in your cover letter. If you're applying to a facility operations job, you need to be talking about operations in your cover letter and show why you would be a good candidate for the company.
Yep. Just tailor, if it's just like tailor fit kind of to that job, right? And I think
Right.
a lot of people I've heard in the past like don't like the templates, but I'm a big template guy. I mean, obviously you're not going to copy and paste everything, but the structure I think is kind of what we're alluding to is the intro, the body, the conclusion, or whatnot. Not like create a new one every time. I mean, I guess you could if you wanted to, but that's just my personal opinion.
Exactly. I mean, if you're trying to crank out applications, you got to do template. Way
Yeah,
to go.
right. And then, and I guess in your in the Teamwork Online field, is there? I mean, do they just kind of open up jobs whenever? Is it straight from the team, or kind of how does, I guess, does the team, I guess they outsource the jobs to your platform and then they post it, or how does that work?
Yeah, so a lot of the teams and organizations that post jobs on Teamwork Online, they it's up to them, right? The hiring
Mhm.
managers, they're the ones posting the jobs.
Okay.
So me as a member of Teamwork Online, I get to, it's fun. I get to assist both sides. I get to
Mhm.
assist the employers in posting the job, making sure they're reaching the right candidates,
Mhm.
and then helping job seekers there as well, be informed of our events and things like that. But when you see a job posted on Teamwork Online, that's coming right from the team that's posting it, like Carolina Hurricanes or the Arizona Diamondbacks or whoever, that's
Right.
the hiring manager putting the job out there.
Perfect. Okay. So yeah, and then can I guess the listeners and viewers, can they, I'm assuming they can, but can they like geographically pick jobs and things of that and get notifications and things? I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So creating a profile on Teamwork Online, completely free.
Mhm.
And then you get to, in your profile, just when you're setting it up, there's a notifications tab. And so you can put whether you're open to relocation or not. You can
Mhm.
pick the career level that you're interested in. So if you're just looking for internships right now, or if you're, looking for more senior level jobs and
Right.
everything in between. And then you can also set it by geography. So you can put your address in there, and then get notified of things that are close to you. And you can also pick, there's two more things you can pick based off of the team, right? So you can
Mhm.
select, oh yeah, I'm interested in these kinds of teams, but my dream job's working with the Washington Commanders. Oh, there you go. You'll get notified of every Commander's job. And then the other thing is, if you're interested in like ticketing or marketing or things like that, you can also select a little checkbox by there, and then you get notified about those things as they get posted as well.
Awesome. Well, okay, cool. And then I know I mean, most of the viewers kind of have the Teamwork Online profile, but something I think people take for granted for a little bit, but we'll try to get that out there as we go on. And then as far as kind of, I know you post a lot about the interview process and things like that, questions and whatnot. So what have you seen, I guess in your professional opinion regarding kind of interview questions to ask? How many? I feel like the how many thing, it's like, do I ask three? Do I ask two? Like what's kind of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say feel it out, right? There's
Hmm.
there's no right answer in terms of the number of questions. At least one.
Hmm.
They can't ask you, do you have any questions at the end, and you say no.
Yeah.
That's just, you're not getting a call back if that happens. So at least ask one question, right? And I guess it depends on how the interview goes. If you're asking questions throughout, then maybe you're only going to have one at the end, and
Yep.
just have a backup, like
Mhm.
something easy, like have you read any good books lately that are about the industry or about sales or about marketing? That's maybe not as specific, just in case all of your other specific questions about the organization and about the person got answered throughout the interview. You've got to ask at least one question.
Yep. No, yeah, for sure. No doubt. Um, I guess in grad school they talked a lot about that. Okay, just figure out one, pick it, and then that, at least one, because you don't want to go in there and just be like, oh, thanks for the interview, and then all right, see you, Mike, and then just take off like that. It's not going to work out well um, for your job interview there. And then kind
Exactly.
of I guess staying in that realm, have you seen certain skills that people either have learned or need to that want to be in the sports industry?
Yeah, it really varies. The sports industry, I think, is very accepting in terms of you don't need a lot of hard skills to enter the industry.
Hmm.
You do need a lot of soft skills, but they're very attainable. I think attention to detail is very important. That shows up on your resume. It shows up on your cover letter,
Yep.
right? If you're using a template like I'm suggesting, but you forget to change the name of the company,
Yeah, that's
you
not going to be good.
no, not going to be good. If you're not mentioning sales when you're applying to a sales job, you're not getting a call back. Customer service is important in pretty much every job you do. Sports is a very just it's very candidate facing, consumer facing. So,
Mhm.
everyone sees what you're doing. I remember striping helmets when I was doing equipment for BYU football. And I'm like, you know, 5 million, 10 million plus people are going to see this on
Yeah.
Saturday night. Is my stripe straight? Did I cut it in the right spot? All
Oh
of
yeah.
those little things, like they show up and people notice. So attention to detail, customer service, have a smile, be excited. I know interviews can be scary sometimes, but if you forget to smile, like people want to work with people that are happy and are
Oh
having
yeah.
fun. So, it's good to be serious too, but have a smile, have some fun with it.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I agree 100% there. And then regarding, we talked a little bit about relationships and whatnot, but as far as, say someone's just either graduating their undergrad or grad school, they're trying to get into the sports industry, what would you recommend? Reaching out a bunch of people on LinkedIn, messaging, liking, kind of what's like the next step after you kind of make your initial contact? Do you think that, I guess, is the most successful for young professionals?
Yeah, well, I'll just say this: if you're just graduating undergrad or your grad degree and you're just starting doing that, you're late. You can still make
Hmm.
it happen, right? Go get it, but
Yep.
you're late. You should be starting those things as early as possible.
Yep.
Um, the key to those networking messages and informational interviews is to keep it brief, right? Sometimes people send me novels and like no one has time for that. I don't know who you are. Like that's not important to me. Send me a quick note about why you're reaching out if you want an informational interview or if you're going to be at an event I'm going to be at.
Hmm.
Keep it short, right? Like 3 to 4 sentences at most. Why you're reaching out, and then if you have common ground, like share that. If we both went to BYU or NC State, touch on that,
Hmm.
and then make the ask. Can I have 15 minutes of your time? Can we chat a little bit at the event? And then to state the time too. Make it easy for them to say yes or no. Make it easy for them to reply. That's the successful messages that I've seen.
Yep. No, I think that's genius there. And then just touching a little bit on maybe some certifications or licenses, whatnot for those that maybe want to take their resume or whatnot to the next level. I noticed you got a few from front office, so maybe just talk a little bit about those certifications, maybe others that are out there that people aren't familiar with.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's some certifications that front office sports offers. They're free. Um, Great way to find some more people to connect with. They've got one in like crypto. They've got one on ticketing. They've got one on NIL. Good way to just kind of get your feet wet in the industry and see what you might like and some people to reach out to. Um, Again, if you need to build some of those soft skills I was mentioning earlier, LinkedIn Learning is a good place to look there.
Okay.
If you're in school, a lot of schools, at least NC State does, will pay for a LinkedIn Learning for you, so those become free. Um, and then there's some other great programs out there. There's some on Teamwork Online, like Sport Management Worldwide, that has different certifications and courses that you can take to become more skilled in a specific area.
Right. Yeah, and I think especially now that maybe consumers or whatnot are growing, there's a lot of other certifications and companies are doing that, right? You can get like Google, I know HubSpot, like you're saying, there's just a bunch. And maybe if you're in like the data analytics side, there's a bunch in that field that you could bring over. So I think it's really just kind of what industry and sector you're in. And I feel like they're out there. You just kind of gotta, like we said in the beginning, you just gotta do your homework, find them, and kind of take it to the next level going forward.
Absolutely.
I wanted to break down kind of one of your posts you had the other day. I think it was, or maybe it was today actually. Today was my first day of college. talk to the listeners and viewers on if they haven't seen that post. So if today was your first day of college, what would you do? What would you recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pulling up the post here really quick, but yeah, if
Perfect.
today was my first day of college, I'd just walk right in the athletic department as soon as my class is finished. I really would. That's basically how I got my first job. So I when we started the podcast, right? I said I had a connection, and that's true, but that I don't feel like is the only reason I got the job.
Mhm.
I had a connection. I made the phone call, and then the guy, he was the director of equipment operations. He said, "Yeah, come on down, like we can chat or things like that." And so we met. No interview or anything. We just talked, and then a couple weeks go by, and I went back in probably 3 or 4 times before I got
Oh,
the interview. And I really wanted to show him that I was interested, like,
oh
hey,
yeah.
I'm getting this job. Um, and that's what I would recommend if it's your first day of college, or maybe you're a sophomore, maybe you're a junior, right? The earlier you can start, the better. But walk in, volunteer. There's so many departments. It looks like I listed, I think, almost 24
Yep.
in college athletics, and there's probably more. All of those departments have either student interns, some are paid, some are unpaid, some are volunteers. And they might be able to take care of you for 4 years. I worked at BYU for 3.
Mm.
But just volunteer, try and meet the students. And then the bonus on that post was go in prepared. So Google, it's as simple as Googling college athletic department staff. Google your college. So put in NC State or wherever you're at.
Yep.
And then have some names to walk in and say, hey, I'm looking for this person. I want to volunteer in that department.
Yep. No, wonderful. And yeah, I mean, I think just like we're saying, I think the key point here is taking the steps, doing the work, and they keep looking around and like Bryson's here, and like they can look around again, Bryson's still here. It's like, okay, they're probably going to pick Bryson for whatever job or whatever opportunity pops up. That's just kind of how it works. They're not, if they don't see you, then it's not going to be top of mind. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about being top of mind. That's why I'm on LinkedIn. That's why I walked into the athletic department 4 or 5 times. And just be willing, especially starting out, be willing to sweep the floors.
Mhm.
If they know you're willing to sweep the floors and they trust you're going to do a good job at it, boom, then they're going to trust you with an internship. Boom, then they're going to trust you with an entry level job.
Right.
It all starts with building that trust and being top of mind.
Yep. For sure. And then, maybe for those that are like, trying to head into the sports industry, have you seen, or what are your thoughts on maybe emerging markets or emerging job opportunities that they can be on the lookout for?
Absolutely. There's a big opportunity in women's sports right now. I think most women's sports are growing at a
Mhm.
really significant rate. I had a lot of fun working in the National Women's Soccer League for NC Courage. There's a lot of growth opportunities there. There's a lot of opportunities in soccer in general, right? With Messi blowing up the
Yeah.
MLS right now. Take advantage of the opportunities that you might not be thinking of and look into them, because there's more than just the major leagues, right? I love the
Oh yeah.
major leagues. They're awesome. If you can get in there, get in. But your opportunities might be starting somewhere else. Minor league baseball, so many opportunities there. And the cool thing about these opportunities is that you get a lot of experience doing a ton of different things. You get to wear all of the hats, so to
Right.
speak. And then you learn what you like and you don't like. So that way, when time comes, there's an opportunity at the NFL. Oh, you like ticketing, or you don't like ticketing and you'd
Yeah.
rather be in marketing or something like that. So,
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I did what was that, in 2017 or 18 maybe? I worked for the Orem Owls, like rookie, single A, or I think they were rookie or something, like minor league team, and it was like 60 games in 60 days or something absurd. Maybe that's too dramatic, but it was a lot of games in a row, is what I'm
right.
trying to say. And you're out there just grinding. You're doing all sorts of the stuff. You're like raking the first base, and then you're doing ticketing, and then you're over like blowing up 10-foot beach balls, like for a promo. So I think just really, minor leagues in general, I think people underestimate how many, like, there's hundreds and hundreds of minor league teams in any profession.
Yep.
Basketball, football, it can be about football, baseball. I mean, college, obviously, we can count that as minor leagues, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
so many openings, and really just kind of get in there and kind of find your niche, find your spot, like you're saying. if maybe you do a job and you hate it, you're like, all right, screw it. Ticketing's not my thing. Well, now you know. So it's not like it's a wasted opportunity because you spend a summer in ticketing. Well, now you don't want to do ticketing, so you don't spend the next 20 years doing ticketing. You just spent 3 months. I think that's key when you're first getting in your career, to find out kind of what you like and don't like.
Absolutely. It's knowing what you don't like is just as valuable as knowing what you do like.
Yep, I love it. I love it there. And then Bryson, as we kind of wrap up here, we appreciate you jumping on today and sharing some of your thoughts. So we always like to ask the guests here where you see yourself in 5 to 10 years. It's kind of on the spot question, but I think we'd be fun to kind of regroup in a few years and touch base. So where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? Maybe some things you'd like to have done in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, really enjoying my time with Teamwork Online. Would be perfectly happy being at Teamwork Online in that time frame, and managing partnerships there. Coming back to the question you asked before that, another emerging market is sports technology. It's really blown up right now, especially post-COVID. I think kind of accelerated the rate at which sports teams are bringing on new technology. And so Teamwork Online, we're kind of in that sports tech space. We're also, in recruiting and human resources and a lot of other things, but see myself working in sports technology, and, managing partnerships, right? Generating revenue, all of those different things, and enjoy being on LinkedIn too. So you'll always see me there.
Perfect. Yeah. And then we'll kind of give you the floor here, and you can get shout out or do any mentions or whatnot. We're just kind of give you the floor to close, and then I'll wrap us up. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, Connor. Again, to all the listeners, feel free to send me a LinkedIn message. Keep it brief. I get a lot. I reply to the ones that are easy to reply to. So make it easy for the people you're messaging. You mentioned Dan Lust earlier. I have to give him a shout out. Big fan of his podcast, Conduct Detrimental. If you're interested in sports law, go check that out. Send me a LinkedIn note and create your Teamwork Online profile if you don't already have one. Update your notifications. It's free. Message me if I can help you at all.
Yeah, we appreciate you jumping on today, Bryson. And for those who are listening or watching on YouTube, we'll kind of keep all his tags and LinkedIn things. We'll post them here so you can see him and check them out. So thanks for joining us again, and thanks for listening and viewing. Constant Sports Podcast fans and friends, we appreciate all the support. You can find this episode on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcasts. And today you met Bryson Shanklin, and now you know Bryson. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll talk to you later.